Hello, welcome to the report about Blaster Ishkur. As usual, before we will start looking at the fights, I want to very briefly comment on the changes that I made to the original feed. So on the left is the feed that I showed you in the ship pick video, and on the right is the feed that I ended up with. The main difference is that I swapped the C-type membrane with A-type coating. They have similar prices, very cheap, it's like about or even less than 1 million. You will get slightly worse tank with A-type coating compared to the C-type membrane, but you will get a lot of free CPU by using the coating. And with this free CPU, you can upgrade webs from compact to Tech 2, and you also have a lot of flexibility with refits. And these are the refits. In like 90% situations, you will need only one refit, which is micro warp drive for an afterburner. So your feed will become micro warp drive web and double scrum and double web. But in a couple of situations, I found that it's useful to carry tracking and missile disruptors and a cap booster. So you may need something like afterburner, web scrum, tracking disruptor, or afterburner, web scrum, cap booster. These can be useful. But as I said, in the majority of situations, you only need a micro warp drive. And the rest is exactly the same. So yeah, let's talk about the fights next. Okay, let's look at the fights. As usual, I will let one-way fights just run in the background, and I will only comment on the fights that are instructive. I want to start with conclusion. I ended up using all three ships. The first one, I got 10 kills, 1 draw. Second one died almost immediately, like I undocked, made 3 jumps and died in the bubble camp in one of stage 5 corruption systems. And the third one, I had like 3 kills, and when I died to a cruiser. I feel like this is a strong ship, but the meta just isn't good and isn't suitable for this ship. This would be my like one sentence conclusion. Here's the main problem. When you feed blasters, you always want to brawl, because this is kind of a range where the blasters shine. But there are so many stronger brawlers in the warzone that you are almost constantly forced into scrum kiting. By stronger brawlers, I mean ships like Navy Catalyst, some like Navy Coercer, Navy Cormorant, and so on and so forth. And when you have to scrum kite in a blaster ship, it means that you are just using the wrong tool for the job. The scrum kiting in blaster ship is just not going to be good enough compared to like a rocket scrum kiter. This is just by game design. So you will see again, like in the stronger position, that this Ishkur kind of gets the job done, but it's just so slow and so painful that you can just take a Rocket Hawk, for example, and you can just do the same much easier. Okay, I will quickly comment on this one. I actually wanted to fight against two Condors and Navy Comet inside, but when I landed on the Blacks, Flycatcher landed on me at the same time. This was kind of a theme for this Ishkur. I got like, I don't know, 4 kills because people just landed at the same time on the plex as me, which is really weird. It doesn't happen that often. And of course you want to go for a Flycatcher. It's a more juicy target. And you are not really worried about the Flycatcher DPS because Flycatcher is kinetic locked and one of your profile tech to resist is kinetic. But you can see even here the problem with control. So I'm against dual web Flycatcher and I'm in a dual web plus micro warp drive Ishkur because I wanted to fight against Condors, so I needed micro warp drive. And even here, like, yes, I have a control, but it's super small. And I have to switch from void to null because the range was like 5 kilometers, and 5 kilometers you want to shoot null. And when I had to switch back to void, when I actually close the distance, and your effective DPS just isn't great when you calculate everything. But yeah, he brings his ult, but it's really poor execution. Like, the idea is good. You use a fast, tanky tackler, which is a Flycatcher works, but you can't bring a Gila because, yeah, it's very slow when you will get downtime on drones, and yeah, this is what you end up with. Like, your Gila is still 130 kilometers away, the drones are burning, and I got the kill, and then I looted, and then I had the time to observe the surroundings, and then I had time to warp out. This is kiting Kikimora, another kind of medium-ish fight. I tested tracking disruptor here, but honestly it's better to just use 2 webs against in the vast majority of situations. Other than that, again, there is nothing to comment on. Against the Kikimora, you need to immediately go for the kill in a blaster ship, because if Kikimora spools, you will be in trouble, and Kikimora will spool all the way and a bit further away even than 40 kilometers. So you can't play any games around it. You just need to straight go for the scrum. And this is why the fight is kind of not interesting. You either get the scrum or you don't, and that's it. Yeah, this is another fight I want to comment on. Again, you will see a problem with control. This is a 1MN afterburner Navy Catalyst. You can see 700 velocity means it's a 1MN afterburner. So I will have control even under Scrum because I have two webs, and I already use null in this case. So I kind of just let my inertia bring me to the Scrum range, and after that I just control the distance. But this is the point that I talked about. It's not even lack of control. It's the reason. It's like you have to Scrum kite here. You cannot brawl because Navy Catalyst, Blaster Navy Catalyst is a better brawler. You can't brawl against a better brawler. So you have to Scrum kite and kind of use your drones as the primary DPS. But when you have to Scrum kite in a blaster ship, you can see how slow you get the kill compared to, for example, Rocket Hawk. Like, yes, of course you will win this fight because you're fighting against profile DPS against Detect to Resist. But just look at how much time it takes compared to like a proper Scrum kiter. Against like a better tanking destroyers, you even like run low a bit on a cap because this ship is kind of have enough cap for something like 1.5 minutes, which should be enough, but yeah, it's not enough because your applied DPS is so poor. Yeah, and the second problem what I noticed with Ishkur is that the feeds are just kind of awkward. Like almost in, I don't know, like 80-70% of the situations, you want macro warp drive. This is typical for assault frigates in general, because you're just very slow as an assault frigate. Assault frigates are just very slow by design, and afterburners they just don't really work on them. It's not as bad as on destroyers, but it's still pretty bad. So especially if you fight out of position, you often want macro warp drive. But when you fit macro warp drive, your control is like pretty poor. You need double webs. You really need double webs against many opponents. But macro warp drive double webs, you need to be like really precise, because unlike Hawk, you don't just, you need not only to be in a scrum range, you also need to be in a certain position within a scrum range. Like a Rocket Hawk doesn't care. As long as you're in scrum range, you apply full DPS. You don't care if you're like 1 kilometer or if you're 9 kilometers away. But in a blaster ship, you actually really care, because this is like 50% of your DPS probably will be gone if you will fight at like 8 kilometers compared to 1 kilometer. And when you feed macro warp drive and you fight against ships that have scrum, even if you have technically control, it takes so long to bring your ship in position to apply DPS properly that it just doesn't really work. It's just really awkward. And if you feed afterburner, when in many situations, like you see, like over and over, I engage out of position and my opponent is like 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers away. There is nothing you can do in this situation if you have afterburner, because you will just burn for half an hour until you reach your opponent. So you only, like if you feed afterburner, you kind of have to sit at plexus and hope that someone will come into you. In this case, this ship will work much better. And all of the concerns that I talked about in the like theoretical section when we picked the feed, they actually were true. Like if you feed the cap booster for dual rep or just to support your cap, the single web is just not sufficient for control. And like a tactic where you just sit and tank is not gonna really work. Personally, I don't think this is the way to fly frigates. Trying to just tank your opponent. You need control to kind of play your strengths properly. Yeah, so like as a summary, we are coming up to actually a couple of interesting fights. As a summary, you can use it, but I don't like it personally. The cap is good with a Nosferatu. I had a couple of close moments where I would prefer to use a cap booster, but in general, no. You don't want to give up a medium slot just to support your cap. It works perfectly fine with a Nosferatu. You need double webs, as I said. So this is a fight against Blaster Hecate. This requires a bit of piloting. So what you do is that you align like in line with his movement vector, and when you kill his momentum with double webs and stop him with a scrum, you need to hit everything. And you can see that his ship stops at about 5 kilometers. So this is exactly what you want. You avoid the void DPS. And after that, you have control. He is double web, Hecate, but it doesn't matter. Like you are a frigate against a destroyer, you both macro warp the double web scrum, so you still have a control. And after that, you just scrum kite. So here he starts to burn away from me and he tries to escape. And in this situation, you just click approach and hit your scrum, and you still have a control, so he cannot escape. But here I had one of a huge brain farts. I stopped hitting my scrum. Like for some reason I thought that heated scrum is 10 kilometers. No, it's 9 kilometers. And you see here it's like 9.1, and you can't drop hit here because your scrum will be deactivated. I don't know what was this brain fart. Like, yeah, this is really weird. And of course I immediately noticed it and reheated it again and tried to activate it again, but since he was pre-aligned, he was just spamming warp out, and as soon as my scrum dropped, he simply warped out immediately on the same tick. Really stupid mistake. You will notice actually in one of our fights I had similar brain fart. When I didn't remember how many drones are in Sci Fleet issue, and I made a completely wrong call. Small editing cut. I recorded the entire video, and when I realized that it will be like 40 minutes long, and we are about to see a couple of instructive fights that I lost, so I spent like more time than usual talking about them, and I will just cut the video here and split this into 2 approximately 20-minute episodes. So I will just see you in the next video.